welcome you all and karibu you all to the second AfriYOCC, which is African Youth Conference on Climate Change.
AfriYOCC, as most of you know, is the organizer of this event in partnership with the Ministry of Environment, National Gender and Equality Commission. We also have NEPAD as a very proud sponsor of us.
This is the second edition of the African Youth Conference on Climate Change. The first edition was held last year in Zimbabwe, Victoria Falls. It was a pre-meeting to the Climate Change and Development Conference. And the theme of that conference was African Youth Responses to Climate Change, Action and Food Security, and we're looking at action from the front line.
We have a brilliant team whose vision and dedication to climate change, cannot be measured.
I'm a singer and a songwriter, an artist that is, and I use my platform as a way to educate others, the youth mostly, because this is what we're focused on issues that curb climate change.
Climate change is one of the most pressing challenges the world faces today. It affects all aspects of our development agenda, from poverty eradication to health care, and from economic growth to disaster and risk reduction. The poorest and most vulnerable people globally are likely to be most affected unless significant efforts are made to create models of development that can mitigate and adapt to the impacts of climate change.
This year we're looking at how we can make climate finance work for young people. You have the idea, you have the initiatives, you have the innovation. The challenge is finance. Support to youth development and empowerment, especially in climate change, I dare say is a lip service more than an action. I've been involved in this field for 10 years at all levels. And I can tell you that support going to young people's initiative is always very challenging.
We have a lot of funding spread all over the place, so it's always good to have this broad overview to understand which fund does what and how you can access that fund.
So this conference has a specific theme, which is climate finance. So it basically deals with the issues that youth encounter in accessing finance to do adaptation and mitigation measures.
The young people, we are not well coordinated yet. We work in isolation. And in order for funds to reach us, we need to come together. This is why this conference is happening. Once we come together, coordinate ourselves, we can create synergies and networks of all these various initiatives and coalitions of youth organizations. And then after that, we can look at financing mechanisms which do exist, but they are not directly targeted at youth, they are directed at a broader scope. So I think in order to bridge this gap, we would need to start with young people being brought together, coordinated, so we understand what are they working on and how much of the adaptation or mitigation funds can we give to the young people.
First of all, African youth is one of the most important groups for the near and the long future, because they will form the workforce actually for Africa. And it is known that, for example, for agriculture sector, the majority now, the average age from the farmer is quite high. So we need to try also to ensure that we can attract youth into agribusiness, agriculture, food security issues. And climate change and climate smart agriculture provide a really good opportunity for that, because now with the Paris Agreement and a lot of countries put in climate smart agriculture as one of the approaches towards adaptation and mitigation, it's important that the youth fully engaged at all levels, like at national level with the governments, with the policy makers, but also at the global and regional context.
Last year we had the first AfriYOCC. So some of the outcomes of the AfriYOCC were imputed into this document. Then I think about 4 months ago, precisely in June, we were all here in Nairobi with the African Union Commission and the UN to look at the gender and youth perspective on climate change. So what you are seeing here is a draft based on what we did during the two conferences that I talked about.
It's time for action. time to speak, time to talk, time to put good policies on the paper shouldn't come to an end, but there should be more of implementation. We are done with just talking. It's time now to put our words into action and to ensure that there is more impact, not only in our communities but also on the African continent and the world at large.